Welcome to our channel. This is the Mobility Movement. My name is Crystal, and I have teamed up with Rise Strength Lab for their October challenge. They have 28 challenges that you can complete across the entire month of October, and one of those is a mobility or recovery sequence, and that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be guiding you through a recovery sequence, and we're going to be focusing on our lower body. The equipment that you're going to need for today is just some pillows. If you have a yoga mat, grab it. But mostly we want to be really comfortable. We're going to be doing some more yin style static stretching and just letting the body kind of melt. And then we'll also be adding in some active mobility as well. But hopefully it'll be enjoyable. We're going to be starting in child's pose, and we're just going to bring attention and awareness to the breath. So whenever you're ready, you can transition there. The way that I like to get in child's pose is I'll start in a kneeling position, and then I'm just gonna kind of fold forward, keeping my hips back towards my heels, walk my arms out, and then bring my forehead to touch. From here, I'm gonna encourage you to just slowly observe the breath. When you inhale, expanding the belly, and exhale, belly collapses. Maybe your hips sink back towards your heels a little bit more. Or maybe your shoulders and chest start to melt to the ground. If this is hard on your knees in any way, just kind of lift your bum up and just slide forward a little bit. Okay, just don't go into as deep of knee flexion. Focusing in on the breath, and see if you can arrive into this moment and spend some time in your body really caring for it and nourishing it. Part of our practice today is also going to be a mindful practice where you stay conscious and aware of what your body is doing moment to moment. On the next inhale, we're going to slide forward and come onto our tummies. So we'll inhale together. And just coming down. We're going to be moving into half frog. So just bringing the hip up, the knee up towards the hip. And if you want, you can kind of just lay your body down. Maybe you want to rest your forehead on your arms. Really, it doesn't matter, but just finding a really comfortable position. And what we're going to focus on is just gently opening up that inner thigh. Continuing to focus on the breath And now we've got the feedback from the floor. So as we inhale, our belly is going to expand into the floor. And as we exhale, softening the lower back and hips and allowing the chest to melt towards the floor. And see if you can start to observe the body and the breath. And really just being present and aware, really soaking up this moment. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add a little bit to this leg. And all it is I want you to kind of just build up some tension in that glute. Try to make your ankle and foot as light as possible. And then I want you to lift that foot up, hold at the top, and then slowly bring it back down. We're going to do 5 of those guys. So again, really engaging that glute. So you want to squeeze that guy there. Try to make the foot as light as possible. And then you're going to lift up, keeping that knee down. And what we're working on here is internal hip rotation. And then slowly controlled back down. And I'm using tactile cueing so that I know, like, engage my bum, lift, and try to get a little bit more range each time. And slowly back down. We got 2 more, I think. Good. We're going to go over to the other side. So just getting yourself set up in a comfortable position. And again, bringing the attention and focus to the breath. Inhale, expanding the belly, the lower ribs, and all the way into the chest. And then as you exhale, the lower back drops and the chest melts towards the floor and the hip softens. Staying present with the body and gently noticing any shifts or changes as you deepen the pose with your breath. Okay guys, what we're gonna do is add that internal hip rotation. So bringing attention to that glute. So really put tension into that guy. Try to make the ankle and foot as light as possible. And then we're gonna lift up. And then slowly parachute back down. And we're gonna do 5 of those guys. And let's do one more. Good job. Okay, I'm gonna get you to come back up into tabletop position, or that's just all fours. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna transition into our next pose, which is frog pose. If you need any pillows, like maybe you've got sensitive knees, I would encourage you to get something that you can put your knees onto, or if you just want it to feel nice, that's why I'm doing it. We're gonna take our knees out as wide as we can, wide-ish. And then if you can point your toes like so, that's cool. If that doesn't feel comfortable, you can also point them back, or you can have your toes together. What's really important is whatever position you find, I want it to be comfortable. And then we're gonna start a little bit away, like our hips are gonna be back a little bit. I want you to find a neutral position with your tummy. Okay. And then we're gonna just rock our hips back and forward a couple times. So what we're doing here is we're kind of just easing into the pose, get into that place where we're like, okay, I feel a little bit of a stretch, and then we're gonna back off. So let's do 10 of these guys. And all the while we're keeping a neutral spine and not letting our hips do anything crazy, like tuck really hard. We just want to just see where that end range is. Okay, so then I want you to just sit those hips back. Find somewhere where you can feel the stretch, but it's not like I can't sit here for 10 minutes. Like, find somewhere that you can feel a little bit of a stretch. There's a little bit of stretch discomfort, but that you could hang out here for a bit if I asked you to, which is what I'm gonna do, of course. And so same thing with this one. You can kind of find what's most comfortable for you. Maybe you want a couple pillows in front of you to support your chest. You can stay to your forearms. You can let your chest come down. It's really up to you. But wherever you land with this, I just want you to pay attention to the breath again. This one can sometimes feel like a really intense pose. So see if you can stay with me, even just for a little bit. Focusing in on the breath, coming into this moment. Okay guys, what I want you to do is I'll get you to walk your knees in just a little bit. Just a little bit, like about an inch. So it kind of takes a little bit of pressure off that stretch. And then what we're going to do while we're here is we're going to move through kind of like a cat-cow. So I'm going to stay on my forearms. And what that's going to look like is I'm going to arch my back, drop my chest, lift my collarbones and chin. And then I'm going to round my back, push my elbows into the floor, and tuck my chin. So I'm going to be looking at my belly button. And then we're going to reverse. And as you inhale, arch, and exhale, round. One more. Okay, we're going to slowly bring those knees in and then just sit back into child's pose. And we're just going to give those legs a little break. Alright guys, what we're going to come to next, you might need a pillow for your knee again, but we're going to come up. We're going to lunge our right foot forward. Okay, and so if you do need anything underneath your knee, I'll just get you to place it there now. We're going to put our hands to the inside of the foot. Okay, and you'll notice that my heel and knee are aligned here, and that I'm taking my hip, my back hip, and letting it extend down towards the floor. What I'm not doing though is like forcing my hip down. I'm just gonna like kind of gently let it meet its end range, and then we're gonna work with that. Okay, so just like all the other poses, we're gonna use that breath. And a little bit of gravity. So just letting that hip really settle down towards the floor. Keep bringing the attention back to the breath. Maybe just check in with your shoulders. Make sure you're not holding too much tension in them. Just let them drop away from the ears. And just like the other poses, we're just going to add a little element of active mobility as well. And so after we've been here for a couple minutes, I want you to bring your attention to that back foot. We'll kind of flutter mine so you can see that foot. And all we're going to do is we're going to think about bending the knee and then parachuting it back down. Now, I've been working on my knee flexion and hip extension for a while, and so I have, a pretty decent range. When I first started working on this though, I could just barely lift my foot off the ground, okay? So don't feel like you need to be able to get your heel to your hamstring, but just see if you can just start by, can I lift my foot off the ground? Okay, and we're just going to do 5 of these guys. Hold, and then back down. And maybe each time you're going to try to get a little bit further. And just make sure that when you come up, that you don't let your hips kick back, okay? Last one. Good. And we're going to bring our leg back to that tabletop position. And we're going to switch over to the other side. All right. So hands to the inside. Make sure that my heel and knee are just over top of each other, and gently bringing that hip, and where it kind of first meets some resistance, we're just going to hang out there and breathe. Really want to focus on not forcing our hip down, but just kind of allowing it to gently open up and soften as we breathe. And coming into the breath, check those shoulders, make sure we drop them away from our ears. And just scanning the body to notice, have things shifted? Has my hip opened up a little? And then just like last time, we're going to bring attention to that back foot. And let's just check, do I have any ability to use my hamstrings and get a little bit of knee flexion? If you do, great. We're just going to lift and hold, and then go back down, parachute back down. So that means move back down as softly as you can, okay? We're gonna inhale and just hold, and then exhale very gently, coming back down. And maybe each time you try to lift that foot a little bit further. Just be careful though, because these can sometimes elicit a hamstring cramp. So just be careful. Good. One more. And when you're ready, coming back to tabletop. Super gracefully. We'll just move the pillows out of the way. And the next movement we're going to transition into is downward facing dog. So maybe we're in tabletop. What we're going to do is just take one step forward with our hands. We're going to tuck and curl our toes under. And I like to kind of like load myself into my hips, because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press my hips up towards the ceiling, making a little V shape with my body. But I want my hips to go up and then back. So I'm going to press my hips up, and my shoulders and chest come through. I'm going to start with my knees bent, and then pedal these guys. Okay, let's give ourselves a little bit of time to pedal and walk the dog. Okay. From here, we're going to inhale, come up onto our toes, kind of round the upper back. And as we exhale, we're going to drop those heels back, press our chest through, and think about lifting up our sits bones. And then we're going to inhale and exhale. We're going to do 5 of these. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Last one. And coming back down to tabletop. So from tabletop, I'm going to get you to transition to a seated position. And from this seated position, I'll get you to find 90-90. So what that means is you're going to have your back leg your shin is going to be in line with this edge of your mat. And then your front shin is going to be in line with the top edge of your mat, if you have a mat. Or you can go like, my shin is in line with this wall, and then my other shin is in line with this one. So it makes a very nice 90-90 position. And all we're going to do here is I just want you to sit and take 5 deep breaths. Now, if you aren't able to sit nice and tall and comfortably in this position, you can also use 2 hands, kind of like a little tripod with your body. But what we want to focus on is letting our hips settle in this position, because sometimes this can be a really uncomfortable position to sit in, mostly because of this guy. But sometimes this guy wants to be like hanging out up here. If you can kind of just let your legs rest against the floor. Okay. From here, we're just gonna turn and face the front edge of our mat. And we're gonna think about our belly button's gonna go up and over our shin. And then almost imagine like your kneecap is being pushed and it's pushing your hip out this side. So you're gonna find kind of like a glute stretch, or the outer hip is where you're gonna feel that. And if you're not able to find it, I want you to think about arching your lower back, and then you'll probably find it. Okay, we're just gonna take some deep breaths here. Keep that lower back arched. Okay, and then from this position, if you want, we're going to either transition into just a forward fold. So you can stay here if this feels good, or you can transition into pigeon. It's 100% up to you. Pigeon obviously is going to be a little bit more intense. Okay, but both are really great stretches, right? The 90-90 is a modification on this guy. But wherever you land, I want you to be able to fold forward comfortably, square your hips up, and just focus in on the breath. And wherever you are, just letting your upper body, torso, and chest melt towards the ground. On the next inhale, we're just gonna come out of this by, if you are in pigeon, we're just gonna lean into that front leg and then bend that back leg into 90-90 again. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna transition over to the other side. So if you want, you can just switch those shins side to side. So now my back leg, left leg, my shin is facing that direction, and my front leg, which is now my right leg, my shin is facing the top of my mat. Okay. And again, we're just gonna see if we can sit here. Maybe you need these little tripods. Maybe you can sit here nice and tall. Just focusing in on the breath, letting those hips, legs, everything kind of settle down to the earth. And once your hips and legs feel settled, what I'm going to get you to do is turn your chest towards this front leg. So you see if you can kind of square up your body. You can use your little hands as tripods to help guide this. But remember, our belly button's going to go up and over. So we almost arch our back so that we can tilt forward. You can imagine that someone is pushing your femur and pushing your whole hip that way as you go up and over to help you find that outer hip glute stretch. And again, you can always arch your back a little bit more. Okay, and then again, we can transition to just a forward fold. Okay, so we're in more of a resting position and we can just fold ourselves forward. Or if you want a little bit more intensity and you have the mobility for this, I'm going to encourage you to just transition yourself to pigeon. When I'm in pigeon, I like to put a pillow underneath this hip. I find that it helps me square up my hips a little bit better. Okay. Wherever you come to, seeing if you can find more of a resting position. And we're just going to focus in on the breath, letting that hip slowly start to open up. Taking a nice big inhale. Okay, we're going to just gently come out of this by sitting ourselves into this back hip and then bringing that back knee back into this 90-90 position. Or if you are in 90-90, I'll get you to come to a seated position. we're gonna roll over onto our backs. So if you do have some pillows handy, I'll get you to put them in front of your body. And we're gonna lie on our left side. And we're just gonna take those knees and just place them on the pillows, or just place them in front of you. And we're gonna grab hold. And we're gonna reach over so that our hips and shoulders are now stacked. We're gonna take a nice big inhale. As we exhale, we're gonna just trace our arm up overhead. Look over our shoulder. And just gently land. And we're gonna hang out here and breathe. So sometimes when we're in this twisted position, it can feel challenging to get a full breath in. But what I want you to focus on is, as you inhale, inhale into your lower back and lower ribs. And as you exhale, imagine your chest and upper back melt towards the floor. This twist is a really great addition to anyone's daily routine. Okay, we're focusing on all kinds of things here, but most importantly, we're working on that thoracic spine rotation and extension. And with our knee being kind of fixed in place with this hand right here, we're kind of locking down our lower back. And so we're improving things like our posture. Our back health is being taken care of, our spine health. You might even feel an opening through your chest. Keep focusing in on the breath. Inhale, expanding the belly and into the lower back. And as you exhale, melting your upper back towards the floor. And both shoulders might not touch the floor, that's okay. Just breathe into it and just watch your body as it slowly starts to open up. On the next inhale, we're going to come back around and we're going to get set up on the other side. So same setup, other side. We're going to take the pillows over there. Okay, get those hips stacked. Take this bottom arm and just hook that knee down. Reach the top arm so that our hips and shoulders are stacked. Take a nice big inhale. And as you exhale, just trace that arm up overhead, looking with your eyes, looking over your shoulder. And then we're just gonna hang out here. We're going to focus in on that breath. And make sure wherever your eyes are, that they're either looking to the 45, like over the shoulder, or they're just straight up towards the ceiling. I just don't want to see eyes looking the opposite direction of that arm. And just notice from side to side. Does this side feel the same, different, more flexible, less? And just make note of what this experience is. And then keep coming back to the breath. Inhale, your lower back expands. And as you exhale, your chest and upper back melt towards the floor. On the next inhale, bringing that arm back around. And then we're just going to come onto our backs into our final pose, Shavasana, my favorite. If you want, you can take those pillows and just put them behind your knees. That's if you have them. It's a bit more of a restorative. Just takes a little pressure off of the lower back. And then I'll just get you to maybe walk those shoulder blades down, take the palms face up, and just gently out to the sides. Toes flop out to the sides, knees flop out to the sides. Wherever you are, make sure it's super comfy. Maybe you even want to get a blankie. And as we breathe, letting our bodies arrive in this moment. Letting our bodies feel the full weight of our limbs, our hips and torso. And just notice the contact points of your body with the floor. And see if you can find some stillness in the body. And allow the movement that naturally wants to flow as you inhale and exhale. And if it feels comfortable, I'll get you to close your eyes and continue to look inward. You deserve to take this time to rest and recover. With each breath, you're going to let the body sink deeper and deeper and deeper into the floor, and just letting all the tension in the body melt. And when you feel ready, gently waking up the body, or just wiggling the fingers and toes. I'll get you to open the eyes. And if it feels comfortable, just rolling over to a fetal position. You guys did a really great job today. Thanks for staying with me. And whenever you feel ready, you can press yourself up to a seated position. And that is our recovery sequence for today. Thank you so much for joining the mobility movement.